So, hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining. Um, so, Sandy gave a little bit of a introduction to me. I also made one. This is who I am. I compose music, I arrange it, and I perform in various groups, from orchestras to a Balkan band. I live in London. I was teaching music in a college locally, and I retired in December. A long part of my interest has been music psychology, how we perceive music, and also how it can help uh, us generally, and also with specific conditions. So I taught this within the course, and several of my students really warmed to it, and some have gone on to become music therapists. They went to do a music or psychology degree and then trained to be a therapist to help people with music. So, where do we start? This is, I've always put this, my ultimate job referee is Aristotle. Music has the power of producing a certain effect on the character of the soul. And if it has the power to do this, it is clear that the young must be directed to music and must be educated in it. So I'm very passionate about that children should have access to music and everybody should have access to music. So thank you, Aristotle. So I'm sure all of you have powerful experiences for music, one or the other, and it does affect us in many ways. So I'm going to look at briefly four big topics and just have a look what has been found about these. So the first thing we'll be looking at is some neuroscience, finding about music and the brain. And then we'll be looking to how music can help with specific conditions, health conditions, both mental and physical. Then there's a section on general well-being, how music can help everybody. And the last section we'll get to is about playing an instrument. But when we get to there, you'll see what I'm doing with that. So next thing to look at is brain scans are getting more and more advanced. So if you want to look at these here, you'll notice the brain on the left, the red areas are those that are being activated. And then when you're hearing music, look how much activity is going on. There's so much lighting up there, including in the visual cortex. Even if you're listening to music with your eyes shut, it'll still activate it. The scan over on the top right is a bit controversial. I think it's making a difference between the brains of musicians and non-musicians, but it doesn't define who each of those are. So you can see musicians have more activity going on the right, and the scans below are from a project in Scandinavia, and it's showing different parts of the brain lighting up and reacting to different parts of the music. People have found that certain parts of the brain respond to rhythm, others to the melody, and so forth. Now, the one that I can't find anymore is if you then look at the middle one, and then if the person then starts playing an instrument, you'll find lots more red going on. There's a load of activity in your brain going on when you're playing an instrument. So people are finding out about this. So if you look at this next slide, you'll see some very interesting experiments going on here. Here's a cellist with a specially adapted cello and a keyboard player going into a brain scanner. So the idea is you play your instrument and it scans your brain to see what's happening. And that's why we can get these very detailed pictures of what happens when you play the instrument. Okay, and going further, how about this? Musicians having brain surgery and playing the instrument at the same time. Astonishing breakthroughs that you can now do brain surgery with a local anesthetic. And so these are actual operations. These are people who played. And so then as well as having their surgery, the researchers can actually see the use of what's going on in the brain when they're playing their instrument. So that's really amazing, I think. And plenty of jokes here, maybe about musicians' brains, but and I've got a bit of a joke here, and the colours are very appropriate for us. So a musician's brain when out shopping. I just love Chopin. Do I have my list? Sorry, terrible, but it is a Sunday. There we go. So what we find from this then is that when you listen to music, a lot of your brain is being stimulated, lots of different parts. And playing an instrument will stimulate even more. And we'll look at why as we go on. Okay. Some years ago, there was this thing that is called the Mozart effect. The idea that if you have a baby in a womb and you play it classical music, it'll grow up to be more intelligent. Unsurprisingly, this is not really the case for many reasons. But a sideline of what we found, which you can try, is this: is if you listen to instrumental music while doing a task, such as a complex one, or just if you're trying to make something or do something mathematical, instrumental music will help you with that. There's plenty of research on that, because the part of your brain that deals with words and lyrics is made free. As a case study, I've got here middle of the last century was a major folk singer. He knew hundreds of songs from memory, but he had a severe head injury, lost so much of his faculties, he could barely recognize people, didn't know very much. He forgot all the lyrics of his songs, but he remembered every tune. You might have experienced this yourself. Is if there's a song you know, trying to remember, and you can probably sing the tune for more than you can get the lyrics, and keep going with la 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 or something when you forget the lyrics. I think we've all been there, where you're going, oh yes, I know that song. And he was walking down the street and he had a red hat and he was la 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 something something something, and you can remember the tune. A term we have down there is an earworm. That's what is used for when there's music stuck in your head and you can't get rid of it. We probably all experienced that. It's an occupational hazard for me, but I manage it. And it can be music you like, or it can be awful if it's music you don't like. But that's the persistence of the memory going on. So that's what we call an earworm. This is an interesting feature of the music words thing. If people have a stutter or a stammer, they don't have it when they sing. I'll refer to several of my students as, throughout, if you don't mind. One of my great students, he had a stutter or stammer, which is possibly from English is his second language. He's from Montenegro, but he's a great singer and guitarist and everything, and there's no problem with singing. So that's something people are looking at, why and how that can help if somebody does have a stutter or a stammer. So you can try. If you have a complex task to do, such as assembling furniture, doing something mathematical, put some instrumental music on and see if it helps. One of our top examples is Einstein. Einstein was a very good violinist and played the piano as well. And when he got stuck, he would go and play the violin or the piano. And so if we think with our mobile phones and everything else, we need his theory of relativity. And without him playing the violin, we might not have them. Bit of a stretch. So a fascinating case there. So then to move on to how music can help with a specific condition that people have, start out with the mental health conditions. So now, dementia, memory loss, this is a growing worry across societies. And what we're finding now is that music can be very beneficial to tackle this, because it can trigger older memories that can't normally be recalled. And people who have it can still remember how to play an instrument. So, and also related to that is it can help you make new memories. There is a cellist several years ago had terrible brain damage from a viral infection. He forgot so many things about who he was and who people were. It was tragic, but he could still play scales on his cello. And then unexpectedly, they found that he could learn new pieces and remember them. So this is somebody who doesn't know how to get around his own apartment and doesn't know who people are, but he's able to, music was connecting with him to get his memory starting to come back. So that's a big plus on the memory front. Just briefly on the subject of dyslexia, people who have this can often read music without a problem, whereas reading words is. So I've got some notation on the screen, and you know, I've been reading that sort of thing since I was 8. I have a great friend who was severely dyslexic as a child, but he was able to read the music, and then gradually it helped him be able to read words, be able to see there are patterns and so on. So that's something that can be tried with people with severe dyslexia. When it comes to autism, obviously there's a whole lot of research on this, the spectrum, and I've taught quite a lot of students with various types of autism, and it's very interesting to see what their approach to music is. And I've had some taught composition to some, and the music they write can be very unexpected, can be actually very interesting. And what the researchers think is that it can connect the world for them that's different to the social interaction. If these are people who really struggle with talking to somebody in the same room, relating to them, they don't quite have that same theory of mind idea, they can actually connect perhaps to a composer who's not there or is maybe long dead, or a songwriter. The anxiety of that's gone. And again, the instrumental music is often favored because it makes its own sense. It doesn't need words, it doesn't need concepts. So there's very interesting research there. So I'll just give you a brief look at how we could help. If your child is very autistic and refuses to talk to anybody, there's some things that can help with music. So what you do is this. What you do is play a pattern, something like that, and then they play it back, and they will do that. They won't speak, but they'll do that. And then they play one, then the therapist will copy it. So there's conversation going on in sound. And then gradually you bring in words. This is my rhythm. And then they would do similarly. And then you can use descriptive words to start bringing in things like that. So you could go long, long, short, 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 loud, quiet, 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 and so on like that. And then they will start saying those and connecting the two. And before too long, you've got them actually speaking to somebody in a way that they wouldn't before. So that's what therapists often do with autistic children and autistic adults. Parkinson's disease. This is if you're not sure what this is, I'm sure you are. It's a progressive condition which leads to your muscles being stiff, erratic, slow movements, and then you will see how music can improve movement in the video. So if we go back to the video, and let's hope that we can see it. So here is a man with Parkinson's and his carer, and you'll see what happens. So remarkable change there, as you could see, because the music is given sort of a structure, given something to move to, and so on, and a lot of strides are being made in this field to help people, and with other conditions that make it difficult to move. Dealing with trauma, music has been a very useful tool in this case if somebody is recovering from a disaster or a very challenging situation. Just 2 examples I've got here, or 3. A couple relate to the Fukushima disaster back in 2011. So the musicians there, after this devastating tragedy, they formed an orchestra, and there they are. And everybody in it says it really helped them get through such a difficult time. They've toured quite a few places across the world and been able to talk about how music is helping them come to terms with what happened. And they're all, you see, very keen to be in it there. This is a very good documentary if you can find it. It's not always available. It's called Chopin Saved My Life. It's got two teenagers who are learning a difficult piano piece, Chopin's first ballad. So one of them is someone who survived the Fukushima disaster, and he would tell you in the documentary how learning this piece released the anguish for him. Then all the way over to Scotland, there's this student who's had 5 and probably more brain surgeries now. Huge thing to go through, and it's life-changing. The pull of it, the emotions. He says this is what helped me bring my memory back, and a huge help for him. So it's a fine documentary. So why does it help? It's a difficult piece, so it gives a target. Focus, right, I need to do, I will master this page by the end of the week, and so on. It gives you a structure. Emotional intent is a very emotional piece, very powerful. So that relates to them. And for Paul, it helped recover his memory, that's him on the right, and also the use of his hands, because after all that surgery, at one point he lost the use of the left side, I think, of his body. So he was adapted the music for a while for just one hand, and then was able to come back. So there's a physical nature of it as well. I could perhaps quickly tell you a case study. One of my students who, for a big project, taught a boy with a condition that's called PAX1, which is a learning difficulty, but also great difficulty with moving the fingers and hands. So she wrote specific exercises for him and wrote them in color schemes that helped him, and videoed the lessons they had together. And he made great progress in all ways. And it was great for her as well, because she was initially a very shy person, and that helped her get confidence in helping a boy with a health condition. Depression, low moods. A student I had who went through this did a project on canvassing, asking people, what music do you, if you're feeling low mood, you're feeling down, what music helps you? And she found a lot of choices, and people automatically assume that it should be some happy music. But it's interesting for those who want bleak, dark music, that helps them more. And then you can make, there's progress going on in science here, where people can scan brains and do questionnaires and so on. So the question to ask yourself, if you feel down, what music helps you? And then to think about, is it the music itself? Is it an association with a time or place? And it's so try and think through why it helps. So those are just some of the conditions. It does help with many others. I've got a video I'll put in the folder, which is about a young man with cerebral palsy and how it helps him. And there's also a very powerful bit with a little girl who had Kawasaki, where the body shuts down completely, and how a therapist, music and sound, got her out of that and got her moving again. So the next bit is going to be about general well-being. So we've got the two aspects. We've got relaxation. We all get stressed. What music or sound is going to help us with that? And then meditation is perhaps slightly more active, linked to mindfulness, reflection, think about awareness. So slightly different. So we'll have a brief look at both. So what music relaxes you? It's different for everybody. What's very popular is the use of natural sounds, the sound of the sea, sound of a forest, rain. People love these, and you can look on YouTube and find there's 10 hours of one of these now if you really want to get into one. Type of music that relates a lot to this is called ambient music. It's music that will draw you in and slightly change the mood of the room. Many practitioners in it. A major figure is Brian Eno. He is a major music force. He was in Roxy Music, if anybody's old enough to remember them. He's also worked with David Bowie, David Byrne, Robert Fripp, and so on. And one of his ambient pieces is called Music for Airports. I think he was inspired to think if there's a place where you need de-stressing, it's an airport. And he also has devised apps these apps. I don't have them because you've got to pay for them. What happens is when you touch the screen, it'll give music, and it's trying to pick up what mood you're in from the what it can tell from your pulse. I've not tried them, so I don't know. So we'll have a little listen to. So do feel free to close your eyes and so forth when we cut to the next bit of music. So that's a little bit of music for airports, the beginning of it. Yes. And he's written many other things. The Pearl and so on are written with a man called Harold Budd, and they're very beautiful as well. When it gets to meditation, mindfulness, you now have sounds which are you actually focus on a bit. So probably many of you familiar with these Tibetan singing bowls. And they produce this beautiful sustained sound. So what I suggest with this clip is to close your eyes, and this is different to the previous one, is to focus on the sound, and you can hear a pitch, and then you'll gradually notice some other things, some other notes come in. An overtone is a higher quiet note, pulsating, slight sort of wah, wah, wah sort of effect, and sound. So it's a focus thing more than relaxation. So it's so if you want to close your eyes, and headphones are great for this. If you don't, then that's fine. But here we go. Let's try some Tibetan bowls. So very beautiful sound there. That's and the longer it goes on, the more you can pick out things going on in it, and it generally has a very positive effect on people. Okay, so that's a little bit about that. People use for concentration what are called binaural beats. The way this works is that you have just two notes, and one of them is very, very slightly higher than the other one. So as they go on, you'll hear what beats mean that they are clashing in the higher frequencies, and so you start hearing new notes and new patterns. It's important to this warning here that if anyone has had epilepsy or seizures, they're not recommended for those. There is a binaural beat at 40 hertz in the pack that I'll post. Try it out, see if it helps. It's a bit of a some people like them, some don't. Worth a try though. It's different to binaural, meaning 3D sound, which I can talk about a bit later if you want. So the last part of it was about learning an instrument, and why is this regarded as very beneficial? Well, firstly, you've got it's social cooperation with others. People learning a piano on their own, it's on your own, but then you can get them together. And obviously playing in a band or an orchestra or some sort of ensemble, you have to cooperate with others. And we're in a society where people can just get, just spend all their time staring at a phone. So this is a good social benefit, and you experience the music making rather than just having it coming to you. Going back to the brain scans, this coordination between your hand, your eyes, your brain, breathing, mouth, anything you're using is all coordinating. There's a book, I'll give some books recommended at the end. This book is great by two psychologists. It's called Sparks of Genius. It's about how arts and sciences fit together in the level of creativity. And they say everybody in the world should do two things. One is learn an instrument for the reason above. The other one I thought was interesting, just off topic, is to do 3D modeling. So to make, model, you could use Lego, you could use cardboard, anything like that. It's partly, I think, because we're in a very 2D world. You're staring at the screen, and you're aware of a 3D element, but it's not the same as in real life. So this has been found to be very beneficial as well. So, and several of you in Balakun are very skilled at crafts, and this would apply to if you're making pottery or similar things, or anything else you construct. So what about physical challenges? How music can help us? In Britain, we have, and probably elsewhere, what's called the breathless choir. This is a choir for people who struggle to breathe. I know that sounds a bit strange, but there's a reason. If you have a respiratory or pulmonary, a lung ailment, it can help. Because when you breathe in real life for speaking, what you do is you take lots of short breaths. Singing is the reverse. You need to take fewer breaths, but deeper. And everybody's done some meditation or calming down activities will know that deep breathing and slow breathing is a great help, reduce anxiety, lower stress, blood pressure can drop, and so on, and help. So my mother was in one for a while. They're very, very helpful. And obviously you tailor the music to the people you have. The second one I've got here is now they're experimenting with when people have physiotherapy, listening to music. Now, physiotherapy can sometimes be painful by its nature. So they're finding links with pain relief. It's also a benefit for when you have to do exercises yourself. We're all about, oh, do I have to? But the music can help give you a sort of rhythm or give you a focus and sort of connection to enable you to keep doing the exercises. Now, these are very big across Britain and some in America, I'm sure they're elsewhere, a drumming workshop. These are based on African drum patterns that's simplified. And these have been found to be very beneficial. I have a video to show you. What do we get from this sort of workshop? Well, a sense of community. Again, people coming together who might otherwise be quite isolated. You have to listen to each other and you're communicating, but not with words. And this is going to be particularly helpful for someone who is shy and doesn't have a lot of confidence about speaking in front of other people. Again, we talked about the coordination of parts of your body, and you'll see that it reduces anxiety and blood pressure. So I've got a little bit of a video here, and what you'll hear is the researchers saying what they found. It's a narrow video. I couldn't change the format, but it is readable. So here we go. So there we are. So as an old expression for our Ukrainian friends, over the moon, very happy. So definitely, it's also been found that we have other groups such as ukulele groups and so on. It's, as they said, you saw there's really great benefits here, and actually the idea of inflammation going down was I didn't expect that. So if I can just sound like Mr. Old Man, angry old man here, it's related things about health and music is the biggest problem we find at the moment. That music causes is hearing damage. We're in a loud society, so people if you listen to music that's very loud and for a long time, that's going to make damage eventually. Some nightclubs, the volume of music there is comparable to standing under a jet engine. Would you do that? Certainly not without those ear defenders. And think about people who work there. They're there for hours at a time under that massive sound pressure, and they are now be able to get some relief from that. So this is causing a problem audiologists are worried about, particularly some young people. So let's just have a look at some things to help your hearing. So we're now all using more and more the in-ear headphones, the buds and so on. We should limit them, because think about what it's doing. It's going right against virtually your eardrum and it's pounding it. Long term, that is going to cause problems. The sort of headphones I've got on, these are closed back are better because there is an air gap between your eardrum and the vibrating membrane of the headphones. If you really like the loud music or go to concerts, metal and so on, take breaks. People who work in the studio are told to do this because they find they keep turning it up. And then you take a break, you come back and you find it's too loud, then you put it back. So the breaks are important. And if you are going to be in a noisy environment, there are some very good quality earplugs. A lot of musicians are now drummers and so on, people playing in very loud bands wear them, and it just reduces the volume, but they can still hear. So we should look after our ears. You can see there's a chart here which as it goes up to normally about 90, 95 can be damaging, and a music club can be more than that. And then you eventually construction site and then airplane taking off, if you're underneath it, is extremely loud. So that is the health related thing that we always cover with students. And it's something to build into your life, I think. Excuse me, on a lighter note, music does benefit people, but it also benefits others. So let's have a look at a nice little video here. What we found there is two animals responding. When horses do that with their head, it's horse people tell me it's a sign that they're enjoying it. And the elephant is a blind elephant who loves the music. And there's a lovely moment in that video where the elephant is put in the trunk on the piano and the pianist moves down to let him come all the way through. That's very lovely, I always thought. So let's just, we're near the end now. So if you're interested in some further reading, this is a major figure in music and psychology, Oliver Sacks. We lost him a couple of years ago. A neurologist who loved music. And this book is very interesting, Musicophilia, Loving Music. It's got this very strange case of a man struck by lightning and became obsessed with the piano. Don't think anyone knows why. And amusia is just briefly to mention, is every culture has ever been has had music, and everybody responds to music in some way. But amusia is very rare, and it means they have no interest or understanding of music. Music is irrelevant, it's incomprehensible, or completely distressing. He takes someone to a concert and they have to leave because it's just makes no sense to her. And then he also has a brain scan on YouTube just to check out if it's measuring his musical preferences. So this is a very good writer if you're interested in this field. Daniel Levitin is a scientist, but also a musician. These books are great. Obviously, the title of this one, Music as Medicine, is what we've been talking about. This is Your Brain and Music, is about your brain perception and processing of music. It's got fascinating things about how newborn infants have musical patterns in their sounds. And this book is about how music has played a huge part in evolution of humanity. James Rhodes, this is a fascinating man. He was is a pianist. He had a severe breakdown, was confined to a locked ward at a very secure unit. Playing music helped him get out of that. So now he's wanted to help people who are in that position. So he takes his piano into very secure psychiatric units. And I'm delighted that the documentary is now available. For quite a while, I could only find bits of it. And there it is, the link at the bottom. It's very moving. He goes and there's him just playing the piano, and there's a patient with severe problems, and their face is lighting up in playing, and they say unusual and interesting things. There's a beautiful moment where he's playing a very difficult piece, and the patient says, "You're quite good, aren't you?" So a little bit of humor and communication for somebody who probably has not had that chance and has been locked away for a long time. So that's very uplifting thing. So what can we try at home? As we've said, recapping, if you're doing a task, have some instrumental music playing, particularly if it's a complex task. Interesting thing is, how do we react to vocal music where you don't understand it? Is that the same experience? Is that halfway between instrumental and listening to something in your own language? It's an intriguing thing to consider. And then what music does relax you or helps you when you are down in mood, and why that music, we don't necessarily have an exact answer. And try other types of music. It may be the music is making you think of a time or place, or it's something in the music itself. That's for you to explore. So if dementia or conditions like this are present in family or friends, they investigate whether music can help them. There should be some programs around to help. learn an instrument, join an ensemble, or join a vocal group. Now, I know it's very easy for me to just write down, learn an instrument, but you don't need to get to a concert standard. It's just taking part. And you could do things that are quite relatively easy to start with, drumming, ukuleles, and so on. It's the social aspect and all the things we've talked about. Drumming workshops or similar. We've seen the benefits of those. There are community music initiatives. You can look out for them around and maybe even start one. There's been some fascinating ones in London that involve homeless people. And they provide a great experience for the people in it and also the people giving it as well. So thank you very, very much. I shall put these things in a shared drive later today. And please drop me a message if you want further resources and so on. In that, there are some other sorts of music. There's some other music that people find calming. And there's a couple of aural illusions you might want to try for a bit of fun. So with that, thank you so much. And how about the floor is open for questions?